Hi, hello, welcome to IAS Factors revision series, and we are continuing with the ancient India. So, we are almost completing the syllabus because what we are going to do today is we are going to discuss about the post-Guptan period. So, what exactly is the post-Guptan period? We've already completed the Guptan period. So, very quickly, after the Guptas, now the timeline is very clear. You can actually mark it the timeline like this. We started off with the prehistoric period, then we slowly went into the Indus Valley, then we discussed the Vedic period, then we discussed the later Vedic period. On the parallels, we discussed the Buddhism and Jainism, and here we discussed the Mahajanapada period, and now we discuss the Mauryan period. We discussed post Mauryas, the Guptas, and the post Guptas. Here are we at this point. So already the time, you can check the timeline, now it has gone to 500. So from BC we have slowly moved on to all these places. So you can now, we'll discuss, when we discuss post Gupta, we discussed about the great king called Harshavardhana. So in ancient India, you can always remember the first important king definitely would be, it will be Ashoka. After Ashoka, one of the greatest king definitely would be in the Guptan time, it is Samudragupta. And most probably after, when you compare Samudragupta to the other empires, you can easily understand that after that, the next important one would be Kanishka. Kanishka was equally important. And after that, obviously, it is the Harshavardhana or the Pushyabhuta dynasty. So these are the most, and after that, the most important king next will be Alauddin Khilji. In the medieval time, it will be Alauddin Khilji. And after Alauddin Khilji, definitely it will be Akbar the Great. So when you say the biggest kings in history, that will be these people. So now you can see it is an image of Harshavardhana talking to Xuanzang. So in the previous session we discussed about Hiuen, and now we'll discuss about the most popular one being the Xuanzang. So that is something that we'll discuss here. So now let's move on. Let's start the session, and with me Arjun R Shankar, and let's go into the post-Guptan period. Even this picture is a generated image which clearly shows that Harshavardhana every 5 years used to go into the villages to see how the things really work. Akbar also did it, but Akbar did it in disguise, and that is how it worked. Now let's get the information correct. So what we have to learn in this format? First of all, we have to learn about Pushyabhuti dynasty. That is the name of the dynasty. So Pushyabhuti dynasty. We normally call this, normally people don't remember this name, but everybody calls it with the name of Harshavardhana or Harsha. So first of all, you need to know who Harsha is. Simple thing, get the facts. Harshavardhana was one of the greatest king. But when you compare it with the Guptan times, Harsha was not, the empire was not as great as Gupta's. And then you will get some important facts. Then also, he was a Buddhist. Initially, he was again Hindu revivalism. He was a Shaiva follower. And later on, he became a Buddhist. What did he do for the advancement of Buddhist people? And most important, you will learn about Xuanzang and something about the economy and polity and all those things. So these are the important things we have to learn in this session. Now let's get the facts. So after the Guptas, probably after the fall of Guptas in the 6th century, North India broke into completely regional kingdoms. So they broke into completely regional kingdoms. So this is also, let me also make it very clear, like give you an idea on the complete thing. So obviously when you take the India or this complete region, you take the Indian subcontinent. So you will understand one thing. After the Mauryas and after the Guptas, what happens is Gupta people created feudal lords. That means they started giving land grants. So people who got land started to own them, and again they became small kings. So everybody was here. So what happened is he became a king, he became a small king, he became a feudal lord. So everybody had land. Slowly they started to get power. So India did not have a centralized empire. So that was a big important thing. That is what Harshavardhana took advantage of. So decline of centralized imperial rule, the rise of regional states that I just drew on the screen, increasing land grants and feudal tendency. So everybody with a village or 3 or 4 5 villages started to behave like a king. Harsha of Thaneshwar, the Pushyabhuti dynasty emerged as the most powerful ruler. So Thaneshwar. So where exactly is Thaneshwar? Initially it was Thaneshwar, and later on he shifted to Kanauj. Kanauj. So where exactly is Thaneshwar? It's the modern Haryana. It's that region, modern Haryana. So then he moved on. So what is the source of this period? Definitely, these are all PYQs, Banabhatta. They asked about Harsha Charita. Many times they've asked this question, who has written Harsha Charitas? Banabhatta's book is Harsha Charita. It is a court biography, poetic but semi-historical. And we learn a lot of things about the post-Guptan period from Xuanzang, the Chinese Buddhist pilgrim who spent years in India. And he recorded a lot of things about Harsha's court. Just like we discussed Hiuen, after the session, I'm going to discuss 6 or 7 important points, observations made by Xuanzang. Because UPSC asks observations made by these people, so it's good to know about them. Then we'll learn about the inscriptions like Nalanda copper plates, the Bangshera and the Madhuvan plates, all of this inscription. The Nalanda, Bangshera, Madhuvan all discuss about Harshavardhana. So unlike earlier inscriptions, Post-Gupta emphasized land grants and religious donations reflecting feudal trends. So the land grants type also changed in this thing. You can read it. And now let's see Harsha's rise. Look at the timeline. It's circa almost 600 century. It's almost 606 to 647. We started off from BC and slowly it is moving to almost 600. So early career, look at that. He belonged to the Pushyabhuti of Thaneshwar, modern Haryana. He succeeded his brother Rajavardhan, who was murdered by Shashanka, the ruler of Bengal. So Bengal, there was a ruler in the Bengal. And later on, we'll learn about the Palas. In this, we need to learn, at the end of the chapter, we need to learn what is the tripartite struggle. UPSC has asked this question many times. What is the tripartite struggle? So Shashanka, so we'll learn about the Palas, Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas. So some important empires which are coming. For a general studies perspective, you need to just acknowledge the fact that there are certain empires and know some important points relating to that. That is enough. And Harsha avenged his brother's death and consolidated power. He got Punjab, UP, Bihar, Bengal and parts of Orissa. He made the empire bigger. And he shifted his capital from Thaneshwar to Kanauj. He made that shift and almost controlled northern India. From, you can see from this side to completely Assam, the country control was trying to. He tried to expand into the Deccan, but was defeated by Pulakeshin II of Chalukyas. I hold inscription about Chalukyas. So we down south we learn about who are the Chalukyas and who are the Hoysalas. These are all kingdoms and they are very popular for the art and culture. When I deal with that, I'll definitely tell you about the timeline of Chalukyas and Hoysalas. They maintain a very diplomatic relation with China, both ways. So Harsha is one of the few early Indian rulers with documented foreign diplomatic missions. Just like we have the Ministry of External Affairs, Ashoka had that. Ashoka had a relation with a lot of international kings at that time. So Harsha was one such person who had a maintained diplomatic mission records. So they had a good relation with China. How about the polity of that? It was a monarchical setup, obviously. Increasing feudal features. So feudal lords, people who got land, they were also having powers. Issued land grants to officials, scholars and religious institutions. So imagine that this was the complete land of everything was under the king. You could give a piece of land to anybody. You take this, you take this land, you take this land. So this is how everybody started getting lands because king was giving away lands to people. Banabhatta describes the ministry council, espionage, the spy system and revenue system was also there. Xuanzang say Harsha toured the empire 5 years, held public assemblies and charity events. This is what I showed you the image in the beginning of the session. So 5 years, every time there was a visit. And land was granted in perpetuity with revenue and administrative rights. So people who got the lands, they started collecting revenue, they started maintaining their own support, power, etc. So in short, they became feudal lords. That is how still we say that certain villages now in India, when you see in states, they still are the biggest family. People say that we are from the warring family, we are from the ruling family, we were rulers. So everybody who says they were rulers may not be kings, they may be feudal lords. They had the control. Well, like we call as the vassals. We call it as the vassals or the feudatory or the samanta. But ruled autonomously. It's like I am the king. I do not call myself king, but I am the king here. Definitely, I owe my obligation to Harshavardhana or the emperor. I owe my obligation to the emperor, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I am the king. That is how they behave. Loyalty of Samanta was often unreliable. Harsha had to conquer rebel areas. So Indian polity clearly shifted towards a feudal fragmentation. Everybody. So this complete land grant system on a massive scale started during the Gupta period. It slowly went into the Harsha period. So definitely there was a caste hierarchy was rigid. Untouchable lived outside cities, used to separate water facility. So the present stigma and taboo of the caste system that we have in India almost traces back to the later Vedic period. Look at the kingdoms. Caste system is really alarming. The society is still largely agrarian, but urban life less vibrant. You see, Guptan time was much more better. That is the feedback that we need to get. Urban life was less and more of the, it was agrarian, agriculture dominated, but it did not have a system like Gupta's. Harsha was initially Shaiva, but later he was a believer in the Mahayana Buddhism like Kanishka. Ashoka was a Hinayana Buddhism, remember. He convened a Buddhist council at Kanauj by Xuanzang. Then you will actually wonder, there are only Rajagriha, there were only different, like first starting from Ajata Shatru, then Kal Ashok, then Ashoka the Great, and then Kanishka. These are the four known Buddhist councils: 250, 453, 353 BC, 250 BC, 72 AD. So all these were different. So this Buddhist council is not the most popular fourth one. Harsha convened a lot of Buddhist meetings in Kanauj, Xuanzang. He patronized Hinduism and Buddhism equally. That is a good thing. Gave large donation to Nalanda University. Though Harsha promoted Buddhism, he did not abandon Brahmanical tradition. So he was a man of religious pluralism. At the same time, he became a Buddhist, but he definitely had upheld the Brahman or the Hindu devotion. And look at the famous literature. It is not ending here, but giving you an idea. This is PYQ, Banabhatta, Harsha Charita, Kadambari. So both the questions are previous year question. Who wrote Harsha Charita and Kadambari? It is Banabhatta, Harshavardhana's time. And there are other people like Mayura, Matanga, Divagara, all Sanskrit poets. And Harsha himself wrote plays. These questions, I think 2011, 12, 13, you will see this question. Ratnavali, Predarshika and Nagananda was written by who? You give a lot of options like Ashwaghosha, Banabhatta, Shudraka, and obviously Harshavardhana. It's Ratnavali, Predarshika, Nagananda. Remember, this was written by Harshavardhana. It blends Hindu and Buddhist themes, and even Nagananda features Bodhisattva ideals in Sanskrit play. So Hindu and Buddhism mix was very prominent during this time. So you will understand after Kanishka and Indo-Greeks, Kushanas, you will not see many of the architecture in those times. Apart from this, you will only see it in the Chalukyas and Hoysalas in the southern region. No major monuments from Harsha's reign. Likely used brick and wood. Even in Vedic times, you cannot see a lot of architecture because when you use wood and brick, it will go away. Less durable than stone temples. Stones will always survive. So he patronized Nalanda and supported Shaiva temples too. So remember, when you talk about Harsha, remember about religious pluralism. He supported everything. After Harsha's death in 647, empire fragmented. No strong successor emerged. Kanauj fell into the hands of other dynasties, and that began the tripartite struggle. This is asked in the examination many times. Tripartite means there are three sides to that. Three sides are fighting for they're all fighting for the same thing. That is three sides. So one, imagine we'll have to learn who are the important tripartite struggles. We'll come to that. Before that, let's get some important random facts. Even though you say that Harsha became a Buddhist, Mahayana Buddhist, definitely he also performed Vedic yajnas. He honored Hindu gods in his inscription, donated Shaiva temples. So he managed both. Harsha's coinage is almost non-existent in archaeological records. You don't see it. This shows weak monetization and reliance on local revenue and tribute, like bartering or getting something from the things. The coins are almost non-existent. So that is one thing that we need to note here. And moving on to the next important thing is no urban economy. Doesn't mean that there is no urban economy, no strong urban economy. Cities were fewer, smaller than during the Gupta time. Xuanzang describes as depopulated or ruined. artisans, guilds were less visible in inscriptions. So this is entirely the composite of Guptas. Despite literary richness, no surviving temples or palaces built by Harsha. As I said, wood, brick, everything, that's something that we already discussed. And what is the Huna threat? While Harsha fought rivals like Bengal, Ganj, no serious Huna threat during his reign. So it was during the Skanda, you must be remembering the Kumaragupta and Skanda Gupta period when Hunas completely, the white Huns. Do you remember the names of the people? Toramana and Mihirakula. Remember, they are white Huns. So it allowed greater internal consolidation but no successor. There was no Huna threat, but that is why they internally controlled the consolidation very well. But the successors after this did not have that capacity. So we'll discuss what is the Kanauj assembly. They can ask this in the prelims. Kanauj assembly. Harsha organized a grand religious assembly in Kanauj, attended by 20 kings, 3,000 monks, and many scholars. Xuanzang was, it is like a conclave that was being conducted when a lot of people come. Xuanzang was the chief speaker. Mahayana Buddhism was celebrated. Hinayana, no, after some time, Hinayana was not that patronized. The event was a complete diplomatic and religious spectacle which shows Buddha's. So remember Kanauj assembly and Prayag assembly. So all these can be a question. What is the Kanauj assembly and what is the Prayag assembly? Prayag assembly takes place every 5 years. Harsha held, it's called the Moksha Mahaparishad. It's called the Moksha Mahaparishad at modern day Prayaga, Allahabad, now it is Prayagraj, where he distributed alms and gifts to the poor, monks, brahmanas, demonstrated it. So even I think I still remember reading a thing. There were competition when you had to debate with Xuanzang. Xuanzang was very popular favorite for Harsha. Nobody could defeat him, and anybody, if they dare to defeat, he was actually taken care. So I was just joking. So definitely I said Xuanzang had more power. Now coming on to the important part, for they have asked this question as previous year question. What is the tripartite struggle? So it's very clear after some time. It's very clear after Harsha. Obviously, there was no central power who could. Do you see everybody at every point of history? This was there. After Mahapadmananda or Dhanananda, there was a vacuum. Chandragupta Maurya filled in vacuum. Maurya was very successful. After Brihadrata, again there was a vacuum. Pushyamitra Sunga and Sungas and Kanvas took it. National level, when you see national level in the sense when you see northern India, you can see Indo-Greeks, Parthians, Kushans. Even after that, there was a small vacuum that was filled by Sri Gupta and Chandragupta, who started the Gupta. Even after the Guptas, there was a vacuum. No central power. This was filled by Harshavardhana. And even after Harsha, there is a vacuum. So definitely small kingdoms will try to emerge as the bigger kingdom. War of succession definitely happens. So this is something that you should always remember. So now the tripartite struggle was happening in the 8th and 10th century. Why? The prize is Kanauj. Everybody wanted Kanauj, which was politically prestigious due to the fertile Gangetic plains and symbolic as successor to Harsha's empire. Who is going to inherit Harsha's empire? So the prize for tripartite struggle, why? Is because you need Kanauj. Kanauj was the prize for that. 3 rivals, the Palas of Bengal and Bihar, the Pratiharas of Western India, mainly Rajasthan, Gujarat, Rashtrakutas of Maharashtra and Karnataka, Deccan. So remember the Palas, the Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas. So they are important. All these are known for the art, architecture and culture. We'll remember the Palas are very popular for the universities. We already know the Nalanda. There is Vikramashila. There is another important like Odantapuri University, Jaggadala University. All these are important centers of learning. Rashtrakuta architecture, we'll learn about the rock cut temples. So let's understand. There are 3 struggles. Get few points for general studies perspective. Palas, founded by Gopala. And the most famous ruler were Dharampala and Devpala were the most important rulers. Dharmapala captured Kanauj and installed a puppet king known for the Buddhism and Nalanda and Vikramashila University. That is why I said Palas are always known for the university. So remember like that way. And dominant in this Bihar, Bengal region. Next is Pratiharas. Obviously you know the places, Rajasthan and Gujarat. It was founded by Nagabhatta. And most popular ruler was Nagabhatta and Mihira Bhoja. So you will forget all these names, I guess, but try to remember Mihira Bhoja, Nagabhatta were all Pratihara rulers. So who was Toramana and Mihirakula? They were Huna rulers. Know some names. Strong Hindu rulers, patrons of Sanskrit culture. Mihira Bhoja and successors fought extensively with the Palas and Rashtrakuta for Kanauj. So these are the important people. And next, move on to so Nagabhatta. Remember Devapala, Dharmapala, and here Pratihara means Nagabhatta and Mihira Bhoja. Rashtrakuta was founded by Danti Durga. UPSC, they can ask you this, match the following question. Which of the following are correctly matched? Rashtrakutas, Danti Durga, Devapala, Palas, and Mihira Bhoja, Pratihara. All of the three are correct. This way. And some of the other, Danti Durga, and the most popular ruler of Rashtrakuta is not Danti Durga, it is Amogha Varsha. His capital is Manya Kheta, now in Karnataka. They raided Kanauj several times, were great patrons of Jainism. Ellora caves, that is why I said rock cut temples of Rashtrakutas are the Ellora caves. So all of them, they are all renowned for many things. So know about Rashtrakuta, Pratihara and Palas. So these are the important people in tripartite struggle. So what exactly happened? Who won? Outcome. What is the outcome of this? No permanent victory. No permanent victor. Control of Kanauj shifted multiple times. Eventually Pratihara held Kanauj, and later on their power waned by the 10th century. The weakened all of them. The struggle weakened all the three empires. It leads to rise of regional kingdom. As I said, when there is no central people, new kingdoms will come in. So this is the important things about tripartite struggle. The prize is Kanauj. Tripartite struggle is equal to Kanauj. Always remember that equation. Now let's get some few important points about Xuanzang and finish off this session. Xuanzang, like Fa Hiuen, was also a traveler, but in different time. Fa Hiuen came in Vikramaditya Chandragupta's time. So he was born in China. He was also Mahayana Buddhist, a scholar. He undertook an epic journey from China between 629 and 645. He collected Buddhist scriptures, went into various centers of learning and associated with Buddha's life. His record is recorded in CUK, records of the Western world. Remember CUK, they can ask this. Do you remember the name of the Fa Hien's book? Kajao something, you remember that? So remember his book is CUK. Next time you see a question in the prelims, you should know CUK is Xuanzang. Why did he come to India? He was dissatisfied with the incomplete and corrupt Buddhist text in China. So he wanted to learn it originally. Wanted to study original text and understand the philosophy directly from Indian masters. He came without official permission and crossing the Taklamakan desert and Hindu Kush to reach India. He came illegally. He stayed in India for almost 15 years, several years time at Nalanda University, and traveled across North, Central and South India, visited almost 100 kingdoms. And some of the observations, like politically, he described Harsha as a just, able and benevolent ruler. Okay, everybody say good things about the king. He had a decentralized administration with local autonomy. So obviously decentralized means you have the state and you have the provinces. In Gupta it was Bhukti, and even in the province level you have the Vishayas like districts, and even in the local level you have the panchayats, like we say panchayat, we have the village administration. So even in the decentralized means you give the powers on the local level. No capital punishment under Harsha. Like we say hang until death or killing somebody. Xuanzang said there was no capital punishment. He praised peace, order, etc. So that is something to be noted. There is no capital punishment. That is according to him. So Buddhism was declining in the heartland, but detailed the difference between Mahayana. Recorded presence. He detailed the difference between Mahayana and Hinayana. He recorded the presence of Shaivism and Vaishnavism and Jainism and also idol worship. So religious tolerance was also noted under this period. So he provided a rich description of Nalanda University. Thousands of monks and teachers, all the subjects that were taught like Buddhist philosophy, logic, grammar, medicine, etc. were also given importance. So, and the next important economy. Agriculture was the main important thing. Trading, coining, taxation was all. He talks about casteation. Caste system, untouchability, and the status of women was again declining, was the feedback of Xuanzang. And later on you will understand. So these are the important things in the post-Guptan period. So now we have almost completed the ancient India part. So it is, if you know all these points, it is really good. I think there are some certain points that we just missed out, which are very basic factual things. I've already, I think you already must have got our revision notes, where all these things are already given in that. Try reading all those things. Okay. Thank you.